So I got the Ascender completed, and before I take it outside and destroy it, I want to just talk about it for a little bit.
Team Baxter.
Building this kit was a roller coaster. Lots of ups and downs. I was happy one minute, pissed the next, but it turned out alright and everything came together. It's a beautiful kit and it's huge. I mean, I have a Traxxas E-Revo and it's nearly the same size as the E-Revo. But that's good. It differentiates it from the competition and gives it a little bit of muscle, a little mean look to it. It's just a mega truck. It a lot bigger than its closest competitor. So, of course, you can see I did a silver body with black accents. It's a Lexan body, pretty easy to paint and not much to it there. You take it off, and now we're looking at Vaterra's Ascender chassis. So the Blazer body was the first body, of course, that came out for the Ascender chassis, but what it's really all about is the Ascender itself. The body's great, but this is the chassis that they'll probably be putting many different versions of bodies out on. A lot of guys ask me how I feel about this build, and all I can say is it's the same, but it's different. It has the same parts, but they're all different. The way they're thought about is different. The way they're engineered and built are different. For instance, the shock hoops. They're the same shock hoops that you get on any other vehicle, but these are plastic, much beefier, and they're just designed a little bit different. There's extra little features that come with this truck, such as the shock braces, the shock hoop braces that sit up in there, extra large receiver box that I thought that wasn't going to fit my receiver, but it actually fit in there with room to spare. Battery tray that kind of sits on the front axle, and as the truck moves and articulates, the battery tray kind of sits on that axle and doesn't move. You can see it kind of just sitting there still. And so what happens is when you put a battery in that, the weight is on the axle. It's a pretty neat idea. That's pretty unique and different, but I'm not sure if it's an actual performance increase or just a gimmick to say that our truck is different. Who knows? Get it out on the trail and see how it does. Really nice shocks. The shocks have an ultra smooth action, and there's nothing special about these shocks. They went together pretty nice, but just a super smooth and nice action on those shocks. I don't know if it's the shocks itself or the builder. To get this chassis so big, Vaterra has used a lot of links. Had a few problems when I was building this kit. I built the wrong set of links in the back, and that threw the whole wheelbase off, and couldn't figure out what was going on. My shocks were misaligned, but you just have to pay very close attention and make sure that you build the links right. Use 2 spacers in the back, 1 spacer in the front for this particular wheelbase. The drive shafts are a little bit unique in that they don't come out of the axle. That's screwed into the pinion, so quick drive shaft replacements are not going to be an option. So it's essential that these drive shafts perform well and don't break out on the trail, or I'll be carrying this sucker out. That won't be so bad because in stock configuration it's not so heavy. It doesn't have a battery in there, of course, but even with that battery sitting in there, it's still not so heavy. It doesn't have much weight to it at all. This is stock with my own electronics in it, of course, and I did change the wheels to bead locks just because I didn't want to glue my tires on. Gluing the tires on tends to make your life miserable later on down the road if you ever want to change your tires. So I've gotten away from that a long while ago. So still have those stock Vaterra tires, but won't be using them. As far as electronics, I kept with my standard setup. I use an assortment of brushed motors. This one happens to be a 45 turn RC 4-wheel drive product. Does well, no problems ever. I use these sealed can motors until they burn up and then toss another one in. Keep an extra couple on hand, and at $7 to $10 you can't beat the price. So This works for me. A lot of guys like rebuildable motors, a lot of guys like brushless motors. Team Baxter uses brush motors and crawlers for the most part. High-Tech 5646, I use that almost exclusively in all of my rigs, along with the Castle Sidewinder 3 and Castle BEC. Inside the receiver box is Spectrum receiver. All of this is standard equipment for Team Baxter. This is just what I use. It works for me, hasn't failed, so I continue to use it. As far as the chassis goes, there was some hits and misses, as I said in the beginning. I was missing a couple screws. There were parts that weren't drilled out, holes that weren't drilled out that were supposed to be drilled out to accept pins, and the whole kit went well for me. I can't complain terribly. Any problem was minimal. I will have to say that you have to pay special attention to the manual and make sure that you're assembling things correctly. There are a couple different wheelbase configurations and a couple different ways you can do a couple different things. For instance, this is not the only way you can mount a servo. Just little things here and there that you have to pay attention to make sure you don't get twisted all up. As far as the truck performs, of course, I can't say right now. It seems to be a pretty good little truck. It's still a standard setup, but like I said, just a little different. It's going to be pretty cool to get this out on the trail and drive with something a little bit different and something so big. It seems like the wheels might rub on the body just a little bit. The clearance isn't maybe what I think it should be. But then again, saying that, I haven't actually driven it yet, so I can't really make an accurate assessment on clearance. I just know that on articulation it gets very close to that body, and the front wheels, as they're turning, they're probably going to clip up on that. So I may have to trim that down. I may not. We'll see when I get it out on the trail. But that's the Vaterra Ascender K5 Blazer kit. Pretty awesome kit. I'm sure that the few problems I've had with the kit will be ironed out in future releases of the kit. RC manufacturers tend to modify and clean up their kits as they keep coming, so I don't expect anything different from this one, as it's being from Horizon and they want to put out the best product as possible. So pretty fun kit. I'd recommend it. I didn't have too many problems with it. I don't know if this would be a beginner kit. I've definitely done easier kits than this, but not to say that it was hard. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing as you're putting it together, just to avoid mistakes and having to go back and rebuild some things. And the amount of addendums in the manual is a little bit daunting. You have to kind of look at the manual and then look at the slip of paper in the bag and kind of make sure that you're doing the right thing. There's a couple instances where I had some parts together and then I got to the next part and there's an addendum in the parts bag, so you have to step back and undo what you did and fix it according to the addendum in the parts bag. But those are all nitpicks. It turned out to be a pretty cool little kit, and it has a great look to it. So I'm going to stop talking about it and go out and drive it.